Renovating Retirement with Charlie Jewett. Oh no, I think I'm about to have another episode.
All right, Retirement Rescue Radio listeners, are you in for a treat today? We've got a very special guest here. We have Charlie Jewett. And Charlie, a little background on him, he is owner of Jewett Wealth Management, member of the estate planning team, host of his own podcast, the Renovating Retirement Podcast, author of his own book by that same name as well. Also another one called 2 Ways to Be Debt Free, and I think he's working on a few others as well. He's creator of the Merit Planning Process, trainer of advisors, financial industry whistleblower, wild hog hunter, singing chipmunk impersonator, songwriter, comedian, what else? Wordsmith, friend, and just all around good guy. So welcome, Charlie. Glad you're here.
No problem. I got my dog's attention when I made the wild pig noise just now. Didn't mean to interrupt you, but I did go wild pig hunting with my son in Hawaii, which I would highly recommend if you like being in the woods in the dark with large knives and strangers.
Well, that sounds like a great time. If you haven't heard that one, listen to Charlie's podcast. Find that episode.
Yeah.
All right. So Charlie, today I'm going to do something I've never done before. I don't really have a list of a ton of questions I want to ask or an outline for this episode. I usually do that. I feel comfortable with that. I'm reminded, I feel like an interview that Adam Sandler had a very long time ago where he mentioned that the difference between him and another comedian, Robin Williams, was that Robin Williams can be funny anytime, anywhere. Just like drop of a hat, boom, there it is.
Right. Mm-hmm.
He said he needs like 8 writers before he's funny.
Yeah, jeez.
And so I kind of feel like I'm Adam Sandler, you're Robin Williams. But you know what? I know this works.
So why
really
am I the dead guy? What are you saying? I miss him so much. I miss him so much that just broke my heart. Actually, my kids called me and asked how I was doing when Robin Williams passed away.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that was a sad time for all of us. I remember so many of his movies, so good.
Yeah.
So today we're just going to talk about Robin Williams, everyone.
That's it. The Robin Williams retirement plan. Wing it.
Exactly. There we go. So I may not have like an exact outline, but I do have kind of a theme, and I call it like validation, right? It's like you and I have very similar investment philosophies, and I want to go into that, and I want to actually talk about right now how that's really working out. Right. Because right now we're in a coronavirus downturn. The market kind of went down. It's starting to inch back up, but who knows where it's going to go, with all the reopening and stuff. So yeah. I guess one of the first questions I'd like to ask is how many of your clients called you freaking out?
It's a good question because if you know what a money manager is, the Edward Jones, Merrill Lynch, Morgan Stanley, or any of the independents, if you kind of have people in stocks, bonds, and mutual funds, and you charge an annual fee and the market takes a dive, the phones just start ringing, right? Everybody's in a panic and there's so much customer service to do. And I'm not worried about customer service. I don't mind offering customer service, but the difference when you, for 16 years, ask people up front, would you rather be in investment tools or cash accumulation tools where you can lose money? Or would you like to never lose money again for the rest of your life and just grow, 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 grow? Most people answer, I don't ever want to lose money. When you put all of your clients into something like that, I think I only got 2 calls and they were peaceful. It was like, I think one was even a text. Hey, just checking in. Want to make sure my stuff's okay. You told me it doesn't go down when the market goes down. Is that accurate? I said, yep, still accurate. You're all good. Zero's our hero. It's either good news or good news. The good news is you have exactly the same money you had last year where the market lost 20 or whatever. Or the good news is we grew it again, and what's so funny about this is building a nest egg, you're supposed to be growing the money, right? So
last I checked.
Yeah, growth is it's kind of the job title, for retirement planners. So was there a time where losses were useful? Yeah, from 1970 to 1999. If you look up an S&P CAGR calculator, CAGR stands for compound annual growth rate, you can see from 70 to 99, the real rate of return for letting them go up and down, letting your money go up and down was 13.78% compounding. Well, you should send me to jail and call me the criminal if I'm telling people not to do it during that time. That's when you needed a money manager or not, maybe just buy the index, right?
Yeah.
But the most recent time, I don't care, Nate, about weather reports from the 80s. I don't care about traffic reports from 1997. And I certainly don't care about the 210-year average of the stock market, please. I want to know what's going on right now from 2000 to right now, I measured it on May 18th. From 2000 to right now, the stock market almost has a 19 and a half, almost 20-year average of under 5 before you pay somebody. So it's failed at doing its job. The more risk, more reward tradition, dare I say religion, has not worked in 20 years. And yet, what do you and I deal with every day is people that are used to that. It's comfortable for them. They believe in it. They think it's going to pay 8, 9, 10%, or God forbid, you listen to Dave Ramsey and it says it's 12%, right?
Oh,
Long
gosh,
term.
yeah. It's like they grew up with that knowledge, or when I say knowledge, I say that in quotation marks. You can't see that right now, but yeah, with that being told to them.
It feels like a cult or like blacksmiths when cars came around, right? Like we just don't want it to be true,
Mm-hmm.
We're not in the transportation industry. We're in the horseshoe business or whatever it is. Well, come on. There was a time where we didn't need asset allocation. We didn't need everything we know today didn't exist because CDs paid 8 or 10%. So our great grandparents or grandparents sold the family farm, stuck it in the bank, and just lived on it. Just a straight up interest only plan or a spend down plan or whatever. And guess what? When that stopped behaving and interest rates went down and that no longer did its job, people said, what's next? What are we going to do? How do we get these people the rate of return they need? And boom, we created asset allocation, right?
Let's look at this stock market thing. Yeah.
I'm just saying we're there again. Like when the world changes, honest people, good, humble, honest people go, I believe we should change our philosophies and our strategies so that our clients get what they're supposed to. They don't go, well, darn it all, I really like this old style. It's comfortable. I can make money while I play golf. And whatever happens to the clients, happens to the clients. Just keep telling them, don't sell. There's no reason. Stick it out and it'll work out. Well, you and I both know hope is not a financial plan.
No, it's not. And I love the analogy of the farm. I use that all the time, being an ex-farmer myself. I tell people, yeah, there was a time where you could sell the farm, put it all in CDs, and boom, your retirement is figured out. And if we were still in that I guess, what do you want to call it, that economic time, I'd recommend it again.
That reality.
Yeah. If that was our reality, I'd be recommending CDs.
Did you have milk cows? Did you have dairy cows?
No. Thank gosh. That was that was one of the animals that we did not have. We did have cattle, but we had more the Hereford cattle.
Yeah.
So you don't got to milk those every single day. But yeah.
I'm just picturing this when we talk about analogies and farms and everything, which is such a great thing to talk about because nothing teaches earning interest like farms. Because for many, many generations, centuries and centuries, wealth was land. Go watch a movie like Far and Away with Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman, and I don't even understand that time in I think it was American history, but like where you raced for land or whatever, but the value placed on land, right? And aren't there charitable organizations, through Christian churches and stuff where like if you just buy a goat for a family somewhere else, you've basically given them a way to live, right? You have I have the latest PowerPoint presentation I created for a video I'm doing. I showed a bunch of sheep. If you've got 100,000 sheep and they're making baby lambs and 30,000 of them die, you don't get as many baby lambs. And it's going to take a while to get back to 100,000 healthy sheep having the same baby lambs. If you have crops and they get wiped out by a fire, it's the same issue. I'm picturing the stock market like the old dairy cow Bessie. You've got Bessie in the barn, and I didn't grow up on a farm, so I have no idea how many gallons come out of a cow every day, so I'm going to get it totally wrong. But let's say Bessie gives you 3 gallons of milk every day, and then for 12, 15, I don't even know what makes cows old, so I'm making the whole thing up, Nate. So whenever a cow gets old, Bessie's milk production goes down to half a gallon, and she's got a bad leg and it's hard to milk her because whatever it is, like there's a time where you go, Bessie's not producing anymore, right? We had a good run here. We had a really good run and made a lot of milk together. You give her a kiss, put her out of her misery or whatever happens with sick cows. I'm just telling you, this stock market is just an old, fat, non-producing cow for the last 20 years. And there's no reason to be addicted to it. It's not heroin, right? It's just growth. It's a strategy among many others. You probably know from listening to my podcast, there's real estate and land strategies that have averaged 24% for the last 17 years, and no one's ever lost a penny because track the history of land value. Land doesn't depreciate. The stupid building you put on it gets old and depreciates, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just the opposite of, what I call Edward Morgan Lynch is just diehard cultish addiction to securities. I look at it like when I was an electrician. Like, I don't know. They're all tools. Am I going to use my hammer drill today? Well, if I'm hanging pictures, no, I'm not. If I'm putting in light switches, I'm not. But if I'm drilling a hole through an outside concrete wall that's 18 inches thick, then yeah, I'm going to use the right tool for the job. I don't, long life, short life, rough life, sick life, next life. The stock market and mutual funds don't do any of them well right now. So until the stock market can repent and prove itself, it's just I fired it. I don't use it anymore.
Yeah. So, Charlie, you just went through a few things really, really fast there, the long life, short life, rough life, sick life into the next life. And I got to say, I borrowed that from you because for a long time, would tell people we cover these 5 areas of retirement planning. And they were all of those areas, but they were not said nearly as well. So that's why I call you a wordsmith there at the beginning. And so if you want to, just go pretty quickly into what the heck those are.
Yeah, this came from me thinking about crash test dummies and like what do other industries do where you take something seriously, even as basic as a spare tire. Like, why do I carry a spare tire? Why does every car have a spare tire when it adds weight? If you saw Ford versus Ferrari, you'd know how important weight is to a car. Well, those are race cars, but it costs you more gas if you weigh more. You know what I mean? Which means if I'm COVID fat, my gas mileage went down because of my gut, right? So why do we carry this spare tire around? Not the one on my belly, but the one in the car. It's because you might have a flat. Does it happen very, very often? It doesn't. Could AAA or some company like that help you or tow you? But just, you're trying to get to an appointment or a date or an event for your kids, and you don't really want to sit around and wait for AAA. You want to throw on that stupid little donut, make it happen, and fix it when it's convenient, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a forward thinking, hope for the best, plan for the worst type of a strategy. Just like when you and I say, well, if the market does go down, do you want to lose money or not? Someone goes, well, I don't think I really do want to lose money. All right, cool. We're going index. We're not going securities, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then it came from crash test dummies. How do you know when the car is ready to put on the market? Well, you fill it with fake humans and crash hundreds or thousands of them into walls until the fake human stops breaking its neck or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. That's what a crash test dummy is. So I was looking at retirement going, how do really, you and I might bump into a person who's like, I've never had a financial advisor in my life. I know I need to save and I can do $1,000 a month and show me what to do. But that's not the norm, right? The norm is I've been disciplined. I've got some money, some chunks and some streams, but I'm with this guy that I was referred to or girl that I was referred to. I already have an advisor, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Or I already have some sort of plan, or maybe even I'm doing it on my own, right? Well, how do we know that your plan is going to work, or how do we test it? I created the 5 Lives of Retirement test and said, well, I don't know, and you don't know whether you're going to have a long life, a short life, a rough life, a sick life, or just live peacefully and pass on into the next life. So let's make a plan that has the spare tire for all. Let's be ready for everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what is long life? Long life is, the number one fear of retirees we hear is running out of money. Well, running out of money is not something you can control. Everyone listening might run out of money before they die, unless you basically live in poverty. You pay yourself, either live in poverty or have so many millions of dollars that taking out, 1 or 2% gives you all your lifestyle you need. But that's not what we bump into normally, right?
Nope, not normally.
We're bumping into somebody that's like, man, 2001 hurt me, 2008 hurt me, this next thing might hurt me. And
good, hardworking people that have saved their entire lives, been diligent about it, and they've got a respectable amount that they want to make sure that they do the right thing with.
Exactly. So long life is saying, do you want your income? Do you want maybe income or guaranteed income? Do you want your income to last as long as you both shall live? Or would you like some sort of a market condition, inflation, change in taxes, whatever, to at some point before you're dead tell you no longer can have a paycheck and you're going to finish out your life in on the streets or a Medicare facility or living with your kids or whatever? And everyone chooses the same thing. That everyone says, no, I would like the income to last forever.
Absolutely.
We go, well, you just, all your money right now is in diversified portfolios. So you just failed the long life test. You're in a situation where if your account hits 0, Let's say you're taking a 4% withdrawal or a 5% withdrawal. So you have $1 million. You're taking 40 or 50,000 now. Each year as it goes up and down, which is the nature of the market. At some point, your broker calls and says you're out of money, and you go, well, now how do I pay my bills? He goes, I don't know. What did you think? I was a retirement planner? I'm just a broker. Like, oh, all of a sudden now, right? What is retirement planning? It's the art of replacing income when you go into 30 or 40 years of unemployment. That everyone knows that. And it's not like a surprise. It's not like COVID-19. No one saw it coming. Everyone knows what age they are, and that one day their body will say, don't do this anymore, whatever job you're doing. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So income is the thing. The long life test is designed to show people their current plan fails and then say, well, here's what you could do. It's another version of a spend down plan, because you can't get out of this. You can't get out of, you might run out of money, but you can pick the one and only place to take a pension paycheck where when you run out of money, they still pay you for the rest of your life. You can't lose your income, but you can lose your inheritance, where everywhere else on the planet that you put money and try to live off of it, when you lose your account balance, which is your inheritance or whatever, you also lose your income. So hopefully I'm not making it more complicated than necessary, but it's basically, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, let me take a look at your current financial plan and see if you pass the long life test. Do you have guaranteed increasing income for the rest of your life, or even guaranteed level income that lasts even if your accounts hit zero? I see that you're with blankety blank brokerage firm. Have they told you that if you run out of money, they'll pay you out of their pocket until you guys both pass away? And Mr. and Mrs. Jones look at each other and go, no, I've never heard of that, right? You say, well, the largest financial and retirement planning institutions in the country all have a version of that they offer. It's just you need to, say you don't want the risky version and pick the safe version. Oh, I'm like, Charlie, tell me more about that. And so, yes, you might run out of money, but that's the long life test. And we just ask people at the end, do you want me to fix it or ignore it?
If we can dovetail or sidebar there and then come right back to the next life here. So I want to touch on what you just touched on, because the whole safe growth, having income that can last your entire life. Hopefully it's going to be, indexed to inflation, so it increases as you go. All of that. What happens though when they say, okay, yes, we want all of that, and there are certain things that you and I recommend that can do that. Problem is when the word comes out, and you know what word I'm talking about. It's the word annuity.
A word.
The A word, the annuity word. Exactly. When that word comes out, then all of a sudden we might hear stuff like, oh, well, I don't want an annuity. But like, wait a minute, you wanted all those things. That's the only thing that can actually get you what you said you wanted. And so, so now we have to, once again, and this is because of, I think, the improper education that the financial industry has given, because a lot of the advisors out there, and we have statistics on this based on the places that actually do the training, that actually create the training programs for advisors, and how many of them are focused on the working years and how few are focused on the retirement planning years, the actual, once you are retired years. And they say that the vast majority only work in the working years. So they're not trained to work in the retirement years. So they're going to not be able to even offer the right products. So they're not going to be trained. They're not going to have the knowledge they should on those products. So they're not going to recommend them.
Yeah.
And so they're given,
they get paid to hide them.
Yeah. It's like, no, you shouldn't do that. Let me tell you all the reasons why not.
Yeah.
And a lot of times the reasons they give to not might actually be the reasons to do it. Right. So
of course. Yeah. Think about the article, I Hate Annuities and You Should Too. Right. Mm-hmm. The entire thing, one, is written about variable annuities, not annuities.
There's many different types.
Five or six different types. And then if you pick the best type at any given time.
And even you and me, we're not big fans of variable annuities either.
I've never suggested one. I've reviewed a lot of them.
Yeah, it's just one type.
I mean, think about what's a variable annuity. It's the market you could have without it at Vanguard for whatever they're charging, 0.25%. Mm-hmm. But with fees of 3 or 4 and much less options.
Yep.
And there's life insurance that comes with it. They go, well, if you give us $300,000 and we do a crappy job and it's all the way down at $150 and you die, we'll give your family $300,000 and we'll charge you 1.5% for that or whatever. That's life insurance. Yeah. That's paying for $150,000 of life insurance. And what are you insuring against? You're insuring against them being terrible at their job.
Pay us $150,000 in fees. We'll give you that extra $150,000 when you die.
And guess what? If they do a good job, which is the only reason you should hire them, because you think they will, and your 300 grows to $1 million, now you're paying an increasing fee because it's based on a percentage for a death benefit that is not even real. Mm-hmm. You can't have that extra. The only way you get that is if they do a poor job. If they do a good job, they're charging you for absolutely nothing. So am I a fan of, hey, you should have 8, 9, 10 times the fees of just buying the index, but have a lot less options and then be paying for expensive life insurance you don't need or isn't a reality? Well, of course I'm not. That only comes from a slick sales. It either comes from ignorance or immorality. You've heard me say it a million times. We don't need to judge. We're going to talk about judgment in here. I don't need to judge your advisor. I don't ever need to speak to your advisor. Neither does Nate. You don't ever have to speak to him again. All we got to do is run him through the 5 lives test and say, there's 8 billion people on the planet. Have you chosen the one? Think of the probability that you have. Have you chosen the one that is the best at mortgage plan, estate plan, retirement plan, insurance plan, and tax plan, has you ready for all 5 lives? It's almost always, the answer is almost always no, right? So when we talk about the A word, I said I'd get back to judgment. In my book, Renovating Retirement, where I call the industry to repent and then I call consumers to repent. Well, people don't really like that word, but repentance is really good if you're running towards a cliff. Hey, turn around, go the other direction, right? Mm-hmm. It's very merciful to see clearly and be able to make a decision whether to continue on any path or go the other direction. Why am I calling consumers to repent? Because there are things that were not great at one point. Reverse mortgages in their early years, just not safe, right?
Still misunderstood.
They're misunderstood. I'm just saying at one point they were actually not safe. Somebody could take your house, right? Mm-hmm. Now they can be a very, very powerful tool. It's not for poor people. There's some amazing planning strategies of, buying houses with reverse mortgages or looking at a chunk of money and saying, is it better earning me interest, particularly if it's taxed, or saving me expenses, right? So, if you have $200,000 that's earning you $10,000 a year, but you could pay down your house and flip to a reverse mortgage and save $3,000 a month, all of a sudden that $200,000 is making you $36,000 a year, basically. You know what I mean? Oh, yeah. Reverse mortgage, annuities falls in that category. Like, was there a time, by the way,
understood. Yeah.
I still don't even think annuities I think variable annuities can be bad, but I still don't think the annuities that people are angry at are even bad. Because let's picture it as a seesaw. Picture a seesaw. I grew up with seesaws. Did you grow up with seesaws?
Grew up with seesaws, yep.
Right. I even have a scar from when I put a shovel on the other end of a seesaw and was supposed to throw it up in the air, and it was fun. So I went and put the shovel down, and my friend threw it up in the air while it was still there, and it stuck into my eye, basically.
Yeah, I guess so many scars. I don't know where all of them came from anymore.
Exactly, right. Charlie, why are you gaining weight? I'm trying to fill out these scars. I don't want anybody to be able to see it. It'll just be one big blob. So annuity is a word like that. Like let's picture it as a seesaw where whatever chunk of money you have can either give you a really high income and not much inheritance, right? So you either need to spend it or leave it behind, let's say, right? So let's say a lifetime annuity, which you and I don't very, very much use, but if you took $1 million estate and gave it to an insurance company and said, what income can I have for the rest of my life? It's going to be pretty high because they've already got all the money, and if you die, they keep it, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's not good or bad. It's just a tool. Like, would you like really high income and no inheritance? Well, if you're a single dude with no kids, right? Why not? Whatever. You know what I mean? Sure. What's the opposite of that? On the other end of the seesaw, reverse income with high death benefit, buying a life insurance policy, like huge death benefit. You're paying $1,000 a month so you can leave behind whatever, millions. And you go, well, I have reverse income. I'm paying for it. But I have 17 kids, and I want to take care of them. So that's the seesaw, right? And everything's sort of somewhere in the middle. So to say something's bad because it doesn't do the death benefit, you tell me, Nate, if you really interviewed 100, 200 families in the next week and said, with the money you have, which is more important? Are we trying to take care of you and your income needs while you're alive, or are you trying to make your kids rich?
I can give you the answer to that without even having to go forward, because I can just look at back of the people that I've interviewed and asked a version of that question already. And the vast majority of them want to make sure that they have income to last their entire lives. And if there's something left over, then they want that to go to their kids.
Yeah. So vilifying a tool because it doesn't have high death benefit, like either you get nothing or you don't know what you're going to get. Now, you and I both know that the annuities have gotten better and better and better. So when people throw the baby out with the bathwater, mm-hmm. or in my book, when I call people to repent, I'm really saying repent of your preconceived judgments, and also please repent of going to Google and believing that whoever spends the most money and has the loudest voice is telling the truth. Because true is true, man. Like 2 + 2
Yeah.
is 4. And if Hitler says it, it's just still 4. Right. And I know people don't like when I won't use Jesus because he apparently tells the truth all the time. Right? I'll use Mother Teresa. If Mother Teresa spent her entire life trying to convince people that 2 + 2 is 5, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? And if she had like Edward Morgan Lynch-sized companies behind her, all saying 2 + 2 is 5 and spending incredible amounts of marketing to say that 2 + 2 is 5, when we meet somebody, we just go, well, I don't think it's 5. I think it's 4. Would you be open to seeing, can I pull out 2 apples and 2 apples and we'll put them in a little pile and then have you count them? Right?
Hmm.
Financial planning is that simple. Honestly, it is. Something's either, when somebody comes back, you've heard the too good to be true thing, right?
Oh yeah.
Accurately taught. If you walk somebody through the 5 lives of retirement, you want income that can go forever or stop before you're dead. They want forever. Okay. If one of you passes away, do you want your spouse to be able to maintain their lifestyle or be destitute? Maintain their lifestyle. Awesome. With your emergency funds, which is rough life, do you want to be able to access them with penalties, take a long time to get them, not be able to get them if they're in a REIT or some sort of real estate? Or would you like to have a pool of money for emergencies that you can access with no penalties, but it's earning stock-like returns? No, I want that. Yeah, I want that. Okay. If you get sick and you have to spend $8,000-$9,000 a month for 2.5 years, do you want that to, burn through your estate and then you leave your spouse destitute? Or would you like someone else to pay for it if they're willing to pick up the tab at no extra expense to you? No. If you get somebody else to pay that for me, I'm all in. Cool. When you pass away, maybe your goal is to write your last check. What do they say? Spend your last check on
Bounce
the hearse.
your last check.
Yeah, bounce your last check, right?
Right before you die. Yeah.
Maybe that's your goal, but that's your estate plan. That's your next life plan. Do you want your plan to happen the way you plan, or would you like the IRS or some other entity or market performance to kind of dictate what happens? No, man, I want my plan to happen. All right, cool. So now I know what you want. And then we turn around and say, what do you have? And they're failing 4 of them: long life, short life,
Yeah.
sick life, and the next life. And they have some liquidity, some,
Yep.
the market just went down 36% and I need $10,000 for an emergency. Well, not a real comfortable time to take it out. So most people have an emotional surrender penalty, on their
Emotional
accounts.
illiquidity. Yeah.
Emotional illiquidity, perfectly said. So when you and I provide the solution and very easily with a stockless portfolio, present a plan that has like 0 downside risk from the market, like literally no one has ever lost money when the market went down in any of these products across all the companies. So first thing I'm going to do, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, is eliminate your risk. Second thing we have going on here is 75% of this portfolio has no fees. I'm using an indexed annuity, let's say, that's beat the market for 20 years and they don't charge a fee like a bank. They just want the use of your money. So cool. So we have no risk, no fees on most of it. You have guaranteed income for life that lasts forever. If one of you passes away, the other person receives a death benefit that then can be put into income, and their income will stay exactly the same or go up. You have full liquidity with no penalties or major liquidity, let's say. And by the way, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, this comes with a long-term care type of a feature where you got an extra $1 million to spend over a 5-year period. Let's say if one of you or both of you go into a nursing home or has Alzheimer's, and almost every time, I mean, you and I should like start wagering and winning the money we should have made from people that say this, right? Like, I'm going to bet you I know what you're going to say next. I'm a clairvoyant. Will you give me $17,000 if I? Almost every time they come back and go, whoa, that sounds too good to be true. Which is just so strange. And you've heard me pick on people like, oh my God, how gravity, that can't be true. I never fly out and burn up into the sun. No, you actually don't. Wait a minute. Silverware always stays in the drawer. I'm never cooking and a fork flies into my eyeball. That's true. It's never happened, sir. That's too good to be true. How do you know something's true? Because it's consistently true. Like gravity pulls stuff towards the earth, and when you're not on the earth, you float, right? If you're up in space or whatever, it's just the laws of the world. So that too good to be true thing, you and I are not of retirement age and have never spent 40, 50 years saving up a giant nest egg and then had somebody tell us to move the entire thing to something they've never heard of. We've never been there.
It's true. It's true.
We can only look at what it feels like. And I'm telling you, and I believe you feel the same from hundreds, if not thousands of appointments, people are afraid to do it unless there's social proof, unless almost everybody else is doing it and they've heard of it a lot, which is why the market is still so popular when it's have terrible results.
Yeah, that is confirmation bias. It's a behavioral finance term that talks about how when people see, or social proof, I mean, the two kind of go hand in hand, of when you see what other people are doing, you think that that is what you should be doing, even though everybody's financial situation is completely different. And so you need to have a plan crafted to your specific needs. So what, Joe at the water cooler says that he did may not actually be the right thing for you, because his finances might be completely different than yours.
Right, exactly. I mean, this is custom homes every time, not track homes. In the world of living in a home, you can have somebody build exactly what you want, or you can buy from a builder that has 4 or 5 models or whatever, right?
Exactly.
No retirement plan should be cookie cutter. And I might do 100 financial plans in a row and use annuities, life insurance, and land. You hear me teach all the time. If you gave Tiger Woods only 3 clubs and you let me have twice the number of clubs I'm supposed to, so I have 2 people carrying the bags, and his are from a cheap store, mine are like the best of the best, the guy's going to whoop me in golf every time, because it's how he uses the club, right?
Every
You
time.
give Eric Clapton D, C, and G chords only on a guitar, and give me a 12-string guitar and a dulcimer next to me, and maybe even a backup guy playing bass, and we play the same song, he's going to sound better than me. Let me sing Bohemian Rhapsody and have, I don't know who's a good singer these days that's still alive. I was going to say Whitney Houston.
Yeah, but Charlie, you put a chipmunk voice with whatever song that you come up with, and
I do.
hands down, chipmunk voice
Well,
beats them.
I would think Bohemian Rhapsody sung by the Chipmunks might be pretty awesome.
Oh, that would be awesome.
So I mean, we did all of that just on Long Life. So sorry to take such a tangent and Robin Williams out on you, but Long Life is about never running out of income. You and I could snap our fingers. I'm still not going to move on to short life yet. You and I could snap. This is basically what retirement planning is about, though. Income, right?
Oh yeah. Foundational.
Rough life will take us like 1 minute. Long life needs to take a lot of time.
If even.
Retire. You and I could snap our fingers for anybody in the entire country and give them guaranteed income for life. There's no medical underwriting.
Mm-hmm.
It's a tool you're allowed to have. Like if you have $8 to your name, they won't let you put in the full $8. But if you're somebody preparing for retirement, you're allowed to buy a pension paycheck. You're allowed to say, I don't want to play this I don't know where the market's going game. You're allowed to play the game. This is how much money I have. What income will it give me guaranteed at the age I want to retire? And here's what's funny. That's the only time you can ever even begin to think about or plan when to stop working. And I don't know if you've thought through this, or I don't think you and I have had a conversation about it, but you cannot do retirement planning with variable investments. You say, well, when's my nest egg going to be big enough for me to quit work? Okay.
100% in the market. I don't know.
We don't know the balance in any future year. We don't know the safe income you could take, because it has to do with what the market does the 20 or 30 years after you start, right?
Yep.
We don't know the tax laws, so how much of that income you get to keep. We don't know how much goes to medical expenses for you. It's not a planning tool. It's a gambling tool, which is not good or bad. I love going to casinos with my girlfriend and playing some stocks or playing black. It's for fun, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're supposed to lose money most of the time and
That's
go,
what happens
my
to me.
gosh, but I like the free drinks. It turned out to be $5,700 per drink. Yay, right? But
I usually break even. I'll like on the price of the drinks. Maybe 2 times in my life that I've even ever gambled, and the one time I've been to Las Vegas for an industry thing. Yeah, basically by the amount of time I sat there, the amount of money I lost was about equal to the couple of drinks that I had.
Very nice, very nice. Well, it's just really important, because how do you know when to stop working? I'll tell you how. Stop using mystery income tools taxed at mystery tax rates and lock it in. The holy grail, you tell me if you agree. The holy grail of retirement plans would be guaranteed pension-like income received completely tax-free, so maybe in a Roth IRA, that lasts as long as you both shall live and increases with inflation.
Boom. If I could do the holy grail.
I know.
There you go.
I spent a lot more time in monasteries than you. You grew up on a farm.
Grew up on a farm. I grew up Catholic, now non-denominational Christian, but I
You
can't
should be able to do it better than me.
I can't sing very well. I never could.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's part of my message for the world is, man, I'm from a math family. My dad's a physicist, physics professor. My mom taught math at high school for like 30 something years, tried to retire, left all her money in the market, didn't work out well, went back and did another 13 years to try to get the money back. More of my passion comes from that. And we're a math family, and you just can't have that many variables and know anything. You can't do X plus Y plus Z equals 4, solve for the 3 variables, right?
Yes,
Supposed to be 4 plus 20 plus 90 equals X and solve for X. Well, you want to make retirement planning really easy and immediately eliminate a lot of the mystery and stress in your life. Fix something. Like, decide the income is tax-free. Okay, we've eliminated one variable. How much of my income do I get to keep? All of it, right? Stop losing money. Like, how much is my balance going to be? Well, never less than it is right now. If you never had growth again for the rest of your life, you can count on having what you put in. Well, that's some level of comfort. Or how about this? Fix exactly how much your paycheck's going to be, no less, possibly higher, and that it can't go down, and that you get to keep it all. That's tax-free. That's called tax-free retirement planning, which we do every single day of our lives. I think The Power of Zero is one of the best books written in the world. I believe we build plans. You and I both build plans better than the author at this time, and I've had him on my show twice. I mean, I've been on the phone with him. With who?
Yeah, we had him on one of our earlier episodes.
Exactly. That's the message I want to give in the long life world is a diversified portfolio of stocks, bonds, and mutual funds, or asset allocation, or money management, or whatever you want to call it, mutual funds, in no way do anything. They have no place in an income plan. They have no place in a retirement plan. They can be a part of your increase. So you need in-case accounts, income accounts, and increase accounts. You do need growth, but you do not know how much money you have left over to gamble with in increase accounts until you've already solved the income problem. And you and I both know, out of 100 families, we say, how much do you want your income to be and when do you want to retire? We come back using tools that give them guaranteed income. We're going to say it takes every single dollar you have. You don't have anything left for growth. So I did a whole episode called, Can You Even Afford the Stock Market? And I don't know if you've heard it, but that was the idea, is if every single dollar in your life right now still wouldn't allow you to retire at the age you want, how many of them are necessary and how many can you afford to lose? Well, you can't afford to lose any of them. Doesn't that make sense?
That's one of the biggest things that I'll have my prospective clients tell me when I'm asking them how much do they want to risk. And normally it's the wife that says, well, I don't want to lose anything. And I love that because I'm the same way. You know, growing up the way that I grew up, my first memory of money, I told my parents that they could sell all my Ninja Turtle video cassettes if it would help out the farm. Right? Because I knew stuff was not going the way it was supposed to be going. And I could kind of feel what was going on. I didn't know what was going on at the time. I was like 6 or 7, right? But I could feel it. And so that I have that same feeling, and I can understand that retirement, like you said, we haven't saved money for 40 years of our lives and decided to retire. We haven't made that decision yet. But I'll tell you this, I definitely understand that feeling in the pit of the stomach that comes from like financial stress and worry, and how retirement can create that for people. And so utilizing the types of products and strategies that you and I recommend, we want to do that in such a way that they don't have to have that feeling. Because if you've got all your money in the market, like most financial advisors will recommend, and we have, boom, all of a sudden coronavirus market's down 36%, you're down 36%, I guarantee you're going to have that feeling in the pit of your stomach.
Exactly. I have good news for you. I was supposed to be off in 4 minutes, and my next appointment asked to reschedule. So I'm going to try to finish this up. So can I move to short life? Yeah. Can I go to short life?
Absolutely.
So the short life test really just says if at any age before life expectancy, one of you passed away, do you know that your loved ones, whether that be your spouse only or spouse and kids or kids only, just basically anyone you care about who's affected by your family's income. Again, if you're single with no kids, it's not a big deal. But if you have people in your life that you care about, you're basically just saying, are they going to be okay? And people don't think through this. If you're a one income family, single breadwinner, person's making $60,000 a year, supporting the entire family, it is pretty easy to think, oh my gosh, if the breadwinner dies, we need we need life insurance. We need a big chunk of money to come in that pays us an income, right? And you can either do, 20 times salary, or you can do what chunk of money earning 5% would give us 60,000 a year for the rest of our lives, blah, blah, blah. But in retirement, there's pieces I believe people miss themselves and that advisors have not been thorough enough to cover, which is if you're retired and you're both getting Social Security, which I do believe will still be around. I think they're going to let it get to the end and rescue it like they did before.
I do too.
If you're both getting Social Security and one of you passes away, one of them goes away. So you get the higher of the two. Well, for a family that each of you is getting $2,500 or you're each getting equal pay, that's about the worst setup you could imagine. If one of you is getting $500 a month and the other one's getting, something really high, $3,500 or whatever it is, that you get to keep the higher of the two, you're getting most of the income, but you could lose up to about 50% of your income if you guys have equal paychecks. Well, what's the other thing that changes tax-wise, Nate, if you're not married?
Oh, you're a single tax filer now. Higher tax brackets.
And I haven't done taxes in many, many years. I don't know if it's the same if you're like a widow for 2 years and then you have to be single, but you're not the same. So your income probably goes down and your tax rate goes up. And we just want to be, black belt retirement planners who have a spare tire for everything and have thought everything through. Do some people die before life expectancy? Of course they do. We see it every week, right? So you need to cover that. There needs to be something. Now, you and I both like to provide that life insurance coverage without the customer paying anything extra for it. It's when they come along and say, no, I don't want to lose money ever again for the rest of my life, or I don't want to pay taxes on my retirement income. And you try to add, eliminate one or two variables. There's ways for you to shift money from the stock market or from variable strategies and use life insurance in a way where you're the death benefit's coming along for the ride, but you're not, forking out money out of your pocket. Oftentimes the fees are less where we put it than where it came from. And yet if you pass away, your family's taken care of, right? So that's short life. Rough life is easy, just having penalty-free access to money. Well, people have penalty-free access to money inside of diversified portfolios of stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. So I don't pick on them too much besides that cool term you shared, which was emotional illiquidity, right? I think one of the pages on your website should say financial terms, and you just have emotional illiquidity. And then you have, what was that other one? Something, confirmation bias, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like I don't put simple terms. They're just 2 words, 3 words, and very complicated. So, the key with rough life is how much interest is your emergency fund earning? Well, have you met somebody when you did their financial inspection or their fact finder, your discovery form, whatever you call it? Have you met somebody who had a bunch of money sitting in the bank?
Always.
And why? Because I might need it. Okay. So yeah, I just did a podcast episode called Liquidity Sucks, and I'm not disagreeing that we need it. I'm just saying, man, what people are willing to pay for having access to some or all of their money is unbelievable. Either willing to pay in forfeited returns, which we call opportunity cost. Let me let $100,000 sit in the bank and not keep up with inflation and certainly not double every 7 years, right? Or let me keep all my money at risk, earning low returns in the market, because if I move it to an annuity, it has limited liquidity. Or if I move it to life insurance, it has limited liquidity, even though it's at like 80%. What they'll do to themselves for this false need of having 100% liquidity that we've never seen anybody need is crazy. So what do I really care about with rough life is all the stuff you use has some liquidity. Why don't we get your emergency fund earning stock-like returns and put it in a situation where if you need it, you can have it, no problems. But if you don't, it compounds at 6, 7, 8% for the rest of your life. Like why not win either way? Does that make sense?
Makes absolute sense. And Charlie, if you have not had Dr. Wade Pfau on your podcast yet, I highly suggest interviewing him, because he even talks about liquidity from the standpoint of technical liquidity or true liquidity. And
Nice.
I love the way he puts it, because when you have technical liquidity, it's just like what you have just outlined. If you have your money in stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and if you're over 59.5 and it's an IRA or whatever, right? Then yeah, you can take it out. There's no penalties. You got access to 100% of it. It is 100% liquid. But nobody is going to take out 100% of their nest egg to go buy a Lamborghini or anything, because you have to use pieces of that nest egg every single year in order to live on it for retirement income. And so while technically it's liquid, it's not truly liquid.
Right. And that's the only thing that really matters with liquidity is true liquidity, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you have that emergency, you need to take it from a place that doesn't hurt you. A stock
Mm-hmm.
account that just went down and you take more money out, reverse dollar cost averaging, it is hurting you, right? You leave it in the bank earning no interest, 1%, whatever, and don't have the emergency, it is hurting you. Or leave it there 5 years, then have the emergency, it is hurting you. Today's best retirement plans, the stockless portfolio that you and I talk about, you don't need a separate emergency fund. Your retirement accounts will function as your in-case account and your income or increase account. I used to teach, because we used to have modified endowment contracts where you could make really nice returns and have full return of premium, so there's no penalty, right?
Yep.
They took the product away for small chunks, like it used to be 10,000 was the minimum. Are there still companies that if you have like 80 or 90, yes, but you and I can put that same 80 or 90 in the pool of increase account money and just keep it liquid anyway. So it sort of serves. So I used to teach a 3-bucket system, and I still teach 3 types of money: in case, income, increase. But honestly, I could solve all of someone's retirement needs with just 2 buckets.
Mm-hmm.
Right? A very, very liquid cash value life insurance policy and a guaranteed income annuity. I could solve almost every. Well, I've beat every retirement plan I've ever reviewed. That's why I mentioned things like, having less golf clubs or less chords or a simple song, and Mariah Carey singing Happy Birthday is going to sound better than me singing Bohemian Rhapsody, even if I did involve all chipmunks.
Yep.
I might get more laughs.
Oh yeah. And thinking about this, all going back to the liquidity thing again, if you think about it, if in retirement, basically your liquidity is what you're getting for income. And a lot of these different types of strategies that we use, you can usually take a higher percentage as income, especially if you get it guaranteed through an income annuity. A lot of times, some of those payouts can be 5%, 6%, when even the 4% rule that was made back in the 90s, which now is no longer valid, it's been reduced down to about the 2 to 3% withdrawal rule. And so you can actually take more income, and therefore you've technically kind of got more liquidity now because you're able to spend more money because you have a higher income.
Right. Exactly. Or calculate what the income would be if you didn't use it, and then take the difference and set it aside, and there's your liquidity. It's funny because we think liquidity is so important, and yet Americans aren't savers, and somehow human beings live from when they retire or when they get out of college until they've saved up a lot of money, right? Well, how'd they do that? Because the basic necessity to live is not giant chunks of money and emergency funds and nest eggs. The basic need is income, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've spent time in Jerez, Mexico, in Zacatecas. I love saying it, Zacatecas, right?
Everybody has an intense Spanish accent whenever they say a Spanish word, right? You ever notice that?
Right. Dude, let me tell you a story about Zacatecas, right? I lived there. I visited there. And I mean, a giant percentage of the people are out there with something, selling something. And when they've sold out, they just go home. They made their money for the day, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like this whole saving up giant piles of money is kind of a new concept. It's not, and not everybody does that all over the world. And I do believe you should, well, let me rephrase this. If you have the money, you should have an emergency fund, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we need to have access to it. What's much more important than rough life is sick life. And this is becoming like a major problem as medical. We talked about it at the very beginning, when
Mm-hmm.
the world changes, you cannot have a cult-like religious addiction, heroin addiction, grasp on what it used to be. Okay. So what did it used to be? Life expectancy was not very high for people when Social Security started, right? We didn't have the same medical advancements. If you take from that time until now, people are living longer, they're living better, and they're dying slower. And that's a strange way to say it, but people tend not to drop dead of a heart attack or get hit by a bus or run over by the tractor on the farm, or just sort of these amazing, shocking, quick events. We've got an entire generation of people fading out slowly, and their hip breaks, or they get Alzheimer's, or they can't do 2 of what we call the activities of daily living. So in the old days, when you'd buy long-term care insurance, not a big fan of, paying a premium every month that you may not ever get back. Having it be able to go up. I've actually seen people where their premium went up 85% in 1 year and there's nothing you can do about it, right? I don't like the original solution the market the world came up with. But that long-term care or reality of people fading out and living longer because of good news, because of medical advancements, right?
Absolutely.
That creates a new problem. Like, once again, like, blacksmiths aren't going to solve the problem when you have cars. You can't put a horseshoe on a car. It doesn't sound good, and it pops the tire when you drive that nail in, right?
Absolutely.
We need something for the fade out. And that's what sick life is the most recent research I've looked at, and it's been a little while, so you may be able to correct me or update me, but the most recent research I looked at on Alzheimer's and long-term care, it's like $8,000 or $9,000 a month in most states, and that's going up.
Yep.
And you are sick for, I don't know, 2 years, 2.3 years, I think they say. So I don't know how many months that is, but 2.3 years before you finally pass away. Well, are we going to tell our loved ones, well, this is expensive, let me just kill you in the first week? No, because you're kind of always hoping they get better. There's a reality here that 2.3 years can be very precious time for the family, right? And not very many, but some people do recover from some things, right? But usually when you can't do two of the 6 activities of daily living, you're never coming back out of that. That's the beginning of the end. It just takes years. Well, I don't know. Do a rough number of $8,000 or $9,000 a month. Let's say it's $100,000 for 2 years and 3 months. That's like 200 and something $1,000. I mean, I see families all the time that are trying to retire off of between 400 and 600,000 plus Social Security. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or that plus a pension, or that plus a rental. I mean, it's not like the average family that walks through the door is handing me statements with like 2 to 10 million going, hey, what do you think I should do with this? There's an arrogance that comes with wealth in our country where people think they don't need advice or help. It's those beautiful families, the regular folks. They're like, I need to make the best of this. I need to be careful because I don't have oodles of extra money. Well, that type of a family, you take away $200,000, $240,000 over a 2-year period, they will never recover. They're going to be living in an inflationary environment where they need their income to be going up every year to have just the same lifestyle. And then we just took away 20, 40, 60, 80% of their entire assets that were creating that income, right? Not a good plan. And, no plan is a plan, they say, right?
Yeah, no plan is a plan. A bad
so
one.
if you're listening to this and going, wait a minute, I don't have any arrangement in my life where someone else would pay the $8,000 or $9,000 a month if myself or my spouse got to that point. No health insurance covers Alzheimer's, and Alzheimer's is like all over the place, right? So if one of you gets Alzheimer's, you're going to run through your cash and hurt the people you leave behind. Bottom line, your family for every generation will have less wealth. So that's not a good plan. So how do we fix that? We don't have to teach the ins and out of it on the podcast episode here, but basically there are tools out there that are different than the stock market or your broker. Your broker says this: give me a bunch of money, pay me a fee, I'll gamble with it, and I don't know what you're going to get. You carry all the risk. I get the annuity income of getting paid on you every year. So I've made you an annuity to me. I don't know what you're going to get. And if you get sick, nothing changes. You just have a bunch of money to spend, right? Well, there are companies that want that money so bad. They say, if you have the courage to leave the stock market and bring it to us, we will provide that insurance. We'll provide an extra $400, $700, $1 million, $2 million that you can spend if and only if you go into a nursing home. Now, I'm not lying, right?
No, absolutely not.
But Nate, it sounds too good to be true. I thought all of life was about bad news. No, there's.
Don't worry, the insurance companies are still making money.
I know. It's like, well, how can they afford to do it? They're smart. I can take you in.
Yeah, we can go through that. It's
actuarial tables. I tried to see how much it would cost to solve world hunger once. And I said, I ended up saying I could solve world hunger if you just let me review enough existing life insurance policies and show people how to have more death benefit for the same premium, right? Because 99% of the life insurance policies out there are built improperly anyway, and the person's suffering for it. So I did a bunch of research on like how many people die out of every 1,000 at this age, that age, and that age. And I'm not an actuary and not as smart as them and don't get paid to do it. So I'm not doing it every day, but they have figured out the whole thing. I mean, this isn't new. This is hundreds of years we've had insurance, right? All they're saying, and by the way, it's the same money they already put at risk. It's the death benefit, right? They're just saying, what did it used to be if you owned life insurance? Forget why. If you wanted life insurance and you bought it, if you're using a tax-free retirement planning strategy that's doing better than the stock market because you want tax-free retirement distributions, it doesn't matter why you're using it. Whatever death benefit's coming along for the ride, all they've done is say, oh my goodness, we now have this problem that people are fading out and not dying so quickly. So you get it one of two ways. You get it if you die, your family gets it. But if you trigger it and need to go into a nursing home before you die, you can just spend the inheritance that your family was supposed to get while you're still alive. You can accelerate your death benefit, which is what it's called, right?
Accelerated death benefit.
I mean, genius move, right? Because what did I say about the seesaw? You can either spend it and have less inheritance, or you can not spend it and leave more inheritance, right? And what we said, you and I said earlier in the program, everybody you ask, right? Do you want to take care of you while you're alive or make your kids rich? They go, take care of us while we're alive and leave those kids what's left, right? You go, okay, cool. What's more beautiful than that is, what do the kids say when you ask them the question?
I just want mom and dad to be okay. I don't care.
Exactly. Exactly.
We're the same way with our parents. Spend it. Have fun. Gosh.
We didn't prep this. Like, you and I didn't prep this. I wasn't planning on talking about it. It popped into my head. All of the kids that I ask, and when I say kids, they're usually in their like 20s or 30s or 40s, right? Or maybe 50s. All these kids that I say, like, listen, I'm doing the retirement plan for mom and dad, and we're trying to decide how much to focus on, like, income versus inheritance, and it's sort of a seesaw and blah, blah, blah. All of them say, they did their job. We're all fine. We've got great jobs. Just take care of them. Try to get them to travel more. Try to get them to really enjoy their golden years. They're always worrying about us, and they've spent, 40, 50 years doing it. Just take care of them. And if anything's left over, it'll just be a blessing. You know what I mean?
Get them to actually spend the money that we're helping them to, earn through the income.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I say that this is such a genius solution. And I'm so thankful to the insurance companies, because the first version of long-term care was a disaster, right? Most of the companies are gone.
Yep.
This one makes so much more sense. Like, here's a giant pool of money that is supposed to be an inheritance for your kids or favorite charities. However, you've become very ill, and you can now have access to it in today's modern policies. And you know how many insurance policies I refinance because it was done before that change, right? They have a great policy, but we look at the death benefit and it doesn't come with that acceleration feature. And they just say, you know what? If your mortgage was at 6 and rates are at 3.5, we refinance you. And if your policy doesn't have a feature and now the newer ones do, we refinance you. It's the Rolling Stones review. Should I stay or should I go?
Absolutely. Well, all right. Did we make it through all 5 lives? I think we touched on all of them there.
We've touched on everything except the next life, which is not super complicated.
Okay.
The next life can get really complicated if you're like, I need each of my 3 kids to have exactly $3 million when I pass away, but we still need income. So if you have some sort of a very specific goal, by the way, the best way to have very specific goals is to do the second part of merit planning: mortgage plan, estate plan, retirement plan, insurance plan, and tax plan. What is an estate plan? An estate plan usually involves a living trust. Would you agree?
Usually does.
I don't do them. You don't do them probably, but we do function as the financial architect and general contractor and run the team of subcontractors. Let's bring in an estate planner, or you join Legal Shield and get 25% off, or 20, or whatever they have off, and pick somebody in your town or whatever it is.
We now have one. He is part of our suite, our office. And so makes it very, very easy for people now.
And it's perfect, because the usually the aha that people need is they say, well, why can't I just use a will? And the issue is a will. By the way, I'm not an attorney. I'm just telling you as a dude that lives on the earth, like what I've heard. And I'm certainly not giving legal advice. Besides, I'm giving
disclaimer, no legal
advice. Personal advice that, like, people I love, I tell them you should really look into living trusts, right?
Yes.
If you have a will and it's very well written and you keep it up to date, which is almost nobody, but if you do, that just says what you want to happen. Like, I want to lose weight, but that's not going to change anything, right? I got to go do the work. I have to be alive, right? Exactly. So A will is like, well, I want my house to go equally to these 3 people, and I want anything left in my Merrill Lynch account to go to these 2 people. You know what I mean? Whatever. The problem is when you die and you can no longer sign documents, which is one of the features of being dead, you can't sign paperwork. There's no way to make it happen. It's a very simple legal issue that, like, I can't sell you my house or give you my house without signing the paper that says you're allowed to have it, and I can't transfer my accounts, particularly like in an IRA or something, and just go, here you go. Although IRAs have beneficiaries, so those are pretty easy, but the other assets are the problem, right? The non-qualified accounts and the real property. So a living trust, just like corporations don't die, it's just an entity. We just need an attorney to draw up the paperwork to have this thing that lives past you that has these well-written instructions and is allowed to sign for you, whoever the whatever they call that, the trustee is, or whoever's like allowed to sign, right? So next life, all the next life is really saying is the thing that all of the other plans assume, that you have no issues show up in your life and you die peacefully in your sleep at age 130, having had income the entire time and smiling at each other, is very unlikely, right? The other plans, you're going to run out of income. Someone's going to predecease the other person. One of you is going to get sick. However, if you do just peacefully move into the next life, let's have it go the way you wanted. Let's think about it ahead of time and have a plan that's ready for everything: long life, short life, rough life, sick life, and into the next life.
Beautiful. All right. So Charlie, we probably need to wrap up here, man. We could probably talk for another 2 hours, I think.
We could.
Yeah. So I guess let's do a few lightning round questions here. I love this one here. What's something that, 20 years from now, if you want to look back on it, what would you like to be considered absurd? 20 years from now, you're like, man, I can't believe we used to do blank.
Oh, easily almost 100% of your money in asset allocation. Just like I said, almost nobody today would put all their money in the bank and try to live off the interest from a savings account or CDs, right?
Oh yeah.
Because the safety of banks is lower than insurance companies, and the rate of return is dismal, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping it's faster than 20 years. I'm hoping it's like a year, right? But I think there's going to come a day we look back and look at everything that Edward Morgan Lynch did. And I mean, sometime for fun, just go look up the cumulative assets of the top 3, brokerage companies compared to how much money is on the earth, and say all of that money is in strategies that have high risk, high fees, and low rate of return, right? And don't accomplish 4 of the 5 lives of retirement. It's stunning. I hope that one day we look back at that and go, I cannot believe that we used to make our decisions based on how well dressed the spokesman was and what car they drove and what was popular versus the data and the results.
Exactly. Which, by the way, since we've all been probably working at home, we're probably not wearing suits and ties or anything like that anymore. I can't remember the last time I put on a tie.
No, that was only in Leave It to Beaver, where you wear like a 3-piece suit while at home.
No, doesn't happen anymore. All right. Well, good. I guess, Charlie, where can people find you? If they want to get a hold of you or listen to some more stuff, if they actually want to find you, hunting some hogs or singing chipmunks or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And then with your permission, can I pitch my training program if there's someone that wants to become an agent?
Sure.
Because we do very similar things for clients. So prospective clients that are listening to your show can be working with you. But one of the things I've done in my life is, stop just being a quarterback and getting sacked all the time and sort of become the coach or the the sportscaster.
Mm-hmm.
And so I actively recruit people into the industry if they have no experience. I thought this was so funny. I just sent out an advertisement, black belt retirement planners needed, no experience necessary, just bring your passion. And I literally received an email. I will not read my response because it was not kind, and your non-denominational Christian heart would probably explode. But I received an email, and he said, "No experience necessary. Are you kidding me? What kind of bozos are you hiring? I will never be doing my retirement plan with you." I was like, "Well, let me think through this response here." So, if you're new, you can't get into the industry because we don't need you, and you're then a bozo, right? So basically, the entire industry of retirement planning can only last as long as the people that currently know how to do it. And once we all die, it's gone, right?
Exactly.
So I just didn't understand. I was like, I wrote him back. Like, I'll tell you the part I can tell you. I was like, wasn't there a time in your life where you didn't have any experience? It's true of all of us, right?
Yeah, you are going to give them the experience. You are going to be the one to train them. That
Exactly.
was implied.
Exactly. So if anybody's thought of getting into the industry or through the COVID-19 thing has lost your job, or you just much prefer to make six figures, working from home in your shorts, or you just love people, whatever that is, I have an aggressive, active training program. All my 3 systems. There's, I think, about 12 hours a week of training right now, and then 26 recorded hours. Like more than, just the podcast alone is 120 or 130 hours. So if you want to listen to the podcast and hear the Robin Williams version of what Nate is teaching, with many more songs and chipmunk voices and Mr. T imitations, you can go to renovatingretirement.com, or on your iPhone or Android, you can use, an app like Castbox or whatever the, podcast, what do they call those things? Podcasters or pod players?
Podcasters, whatever. Podcast players, something.
If you don't know how to use your phone, have somebody show you. Probably
find somebody 20.
Somebody who's 20, or you can just go to renovatingretirement.com, or you just do a search for Charlie Jewett, CharlieJewett on Google, and you'll find 100 places. People can also just email me. They can just say charlie@jewettwealth.com, JEWETT wealth.com, and whatever. Just say, like, ask questions or whatever. So, consuming the materials that you and I put out, you can do that on your phone. You can do it online. If you've been thinking about getting into the industry or switching from another version of it that's not getting you totally stoked, you can get in touch as well. But is that helpful? Is that useful?
It is. And also to give you a little bit of a plug. So for those that might be listening to this, with Charlie, I consulted financial advisors for a number of years, and they were, myself personally, there's about 125 of them all over the country. The firm I worked for consults over 1,100 different financial advisor offices, and that firm does more business by about maybe 4 times the next closest competitor. And Charlie, and like I said, I've consulted all over the country, and I've learned a ton from Charlie just by conversations, going through his podcast even, and learning stuff. And so, yeah, if you're thinking about looking for a trainer, give him a chance.
Awesome, man. Thank you for such kind words.
You bet. Well, alrighty here. Anything else you want, like what last parting piece of advice that you'd like to give anybody?
I would just say the last piece of advice is, like, now is not the time to hold on to the past. Just relax and talk to Nate. If you're listening to Nate's show, and talk to Nate and just go, can you please take me through the good news approach? Can you just please do a thorough, it's always nice to hear you don't have cancer and the slab under your house is not cracked, right? You're not going to hurt yourself. It's just not the time to hold on to past beliefs. It's the time to be open to change. And thankfully the quarantine and the coronavirus has done some of that for people. It is a time of rethinking, right?
It is.
Get in touch with Nate and have him review your stuff and just go through. You don't need, what people are afraid of is that, like, we're going to say, like, give me your social security number and give me this, then a bunch of high pressure or whatever. And it's about as opposite as you can get. Someone could give me their first name only, right? Or give you the first name only, the state they live in, and their chunks and streams. Here's how much I've saved in qualified pre-tax money. Here's how much I have elsewhere. Here's how much I put away every month. Literally, that's it, right? Mm-hmm. And you come back and go, okay, I took you through the 5 lives test. It seems to me that you're failing 4 of them, and one of them is kind of okay. Would it be okay for me to show you how to make some simple moves at no cost that should increase your retirement income by 20, 30, 40%? And then be open, because there's no pressure. It's just educate. Nate's less threatening than I am, and I've never killed anybody.
I've never killed anybody.
No, I've somehow done all these appointments and no one has ever died. So what are people afraid of? Why are they afraid?
I don't know. And, grew up on a farm too. And yeah, so.
Well, I do now, even though I said before I had to go, and then I said in 4 minutes I was supposed to talk to somebody, and now I do have someone to talk to in 4 minutes. So tell your audience, I think you people are the best, and then I'll be back sometime whenever you let me talk again.
Will do. Thank you, Charlie. I think you, I know you've already helped rescue tons of retirements. I think you're going to help rescue even more.
Perfect.
Thanks, man. Take care.
Right. Bye-bye.
Renovating Retirement with Charlie Jewett.
But that's all, folks.